Hi, everyone. Today we have Marissa Levin, a 5 time 30-year entrepreneur, speaker, best-selling author, mindset expert, and a globally recognized growth and spiritual strategist. She was recently recognized as one of the top 200 biggest voices of leadership globally for 2023. Welcome to the EO Wonder podcast, Marissa.
Thank you, Kalika. It's so wonderful to be here.
And you also tell us about your journey in EO. You're a big EO person.
Sure. So EO has definitely been a very important part of my life and my entrepreneurial journey. I joined it with my first company, which I now have exited 13 years ago. So we're talking about going back. Yeah, I started that company 30 years ago, joined EO when I was able to be eligible, probably, I don't know, the 5th or 6th year in. And it became a really important part of my life. The community, the network, the forum experience, the forum training experience. I was part of the EODC chapter, and Marcia Rawls, who we all know and love dearly, such an important role model and friend and mentor and sister to me. She asked me to partner with her to stand up EO Accelerator for DC. So I was part of that team, the leadership team that brought EO Accelerator to DC. And that was such an incredible experience. We had an incredible inaugural class, and it just, what an amazing opportunity. So I was involved in EO Accelerator. I was on the EO Global Board literally for a minute. Like they had invited me onto the EO Global Board. And, you know, as we all know with EO, when you volunteer with EO, I mean, you are giving your entire heart, your life over to EO. And when they had asked me to come on to work with some of the women's initiatives, it was during a time in my life. My older son was graduating high school, and my heart really wanted to be on the board. But then they started saying, you know, can you go to Amsterdam? Can you go to Germany? And I had to make a choice. And I couldn't be in two places at once. As my mom used to say, you can't be short and tall at the same time. So I had to choose, and I stepped down from the EO Global Board so that I could really focus on being home with my kids as my older son was getting ready to go to college. And then I got involved with EO Baltimore. I grew up in Baltimore. Mike Byrne was getting the membership going up in EO Baltimore, and he reached out to me, and he knew I had a lot of contacts there. So he asked me to get involved with EO Baltimore. I joined EO Baltimore, helped with the membership for that, joined another forum over in EO Baltimore, and that was incredible. So just EO, you know, has been, like all of the members, it's been transformational for me in my life. And then just recently, I stepped down from an EO virtual forum just because I'm launching another business. And, you know, we all know that we only have a certain number of hours in the day. But yeah, EO has been an instrumental part of my life.
But I'm so glad that you made that right choice for yourself to pay attention, you know, have time with your kids, because now they're 25 and 22. You have Jared and Jordan, right?
Right.
And don't you think that that was just the best decision you made, right?
I do. And, you know, I mean, when I was building my business, I would get asked all the time by especially women entrepreneurs, you know, how do you balance it all, right? There's no one right recipe. There's no one right formula, and there's no playbook. Even though there might be books out there about work-life balance, there's just no playbook. Every family is different. Every child is different in terms of their needs. And it really depends on where your heartstrings pull you. And, you know, I can say without a shadow of a doubt that I made the right decision for me and for my children. And if you were to go back and you were to ask them today, what was your mom's number one priority when you were growing up? They would without a doubt say, oh, we were the priority. So that to me is my measure of success, that I was able to be so present for them. I definitely left millions of dollars on the table in terms of business growth. But if I were to do it all over again, I would make the same choices.
Absolutely. And it probably makes sense because, you know, as women, like, you know, just having kids, my kids are going to be applying for college. We're going to be doing college tours and I really want to be there for them, being able
Mm.
to take a week or two off and, take them on college tours is I think the flexibility that you have and the freedom and flexibility you have as an entrepreneur as well too.
For sure. And they're still my number one priority. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going out with my older son and his girlfriend tomorrow night, Saturday night, and I'm going to spring break with my younger son next week. And like, I am so grateful for my relationships with my children. And I know that they are what they are because of the choices that I made.
So, I heard that you have a master's degree in human resources development, right? And organization development. Is having that type of a degree help you in as an entrepreneur? You're also a certified coach through ICF, the International Coach Federation. You're certified in EQI, emotional intelligence assessment, and Enneagram, instructional systems design. Like, how does this help you become a better entrepreneur?
So when I launched my first company, Information Experts, it was an education training and human capital firm, and my company was completely based upon my academic career, my graduate degree, as well as the whole instructional systems design model. I mean, we were an education training and human capital firm, and so that really gave me the background for understanding organizations and organizational development and the people side of companies. And I think that I naturally was inclined, for that, because I just am so relationship oriented. But having the consulting models and the structure to be able to implement when I was only in my 20s, it definitely gave me a strong framework and an understanding of how organizations functioned and operated when I didn't have a lot of work experience. So for me, it was very, very helpful.
And now your, I guess, foray is into conscious leadership. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So, you and I have talked about this. I have a very deep spiritual path that it's not something that I joined or jumped onto. It's just kind of how I've lived my life. I mean, I was born a little bit different, I think, in terms of being an empath and just being highly intuitive and just kind of the way I've experienced the world, kind of both in the world, but also as a witness. And just my entire spiritual journey has been quite colorful. And so I naturally have been a very conscious individual. I consciously parented. I consciously led my company as a CEO. I always believed that I was not just the chief executive officer, but the chief emotional officer, and just being super dialed in, or the chief empath officer, being super dialed in to who my people were as human beings and just the human experience that they were having. And when I exited my first company and I launched my second company, which was called Successful Culture, and that was the company that I sold this past summer, that company was born out of my pride and my total joy of being able to create exceptional work environments where people feel seen and heard and relevant and safe, and that they mattered and that they're part of something bigger than themselves. And so I ran that and brought in a partner for that until we took that to acquisition. And what I really noticed while I was running that was I started to see the marriage and the integration of my spiritual path with my leadership and my organizational development work and, my corporate culture work. And one of my superpowers is to develop models. And I came up with the model of the I5 conscious leadership model, which stands for intention, identity, integrity, inspiration, and insight. And these are the 5 components that now we have it grounded in research that conscious leaders embody. And we're tying this model specifically, again, grounded in research, to employee engagement. So it's not just enough to say, I want to be a conscious leader or I am a conscious leader. It's about what is the so what with that. And what we have learned through our research is that when leaders are fully present, highly conscious, when they're truly connected to their identity, when they are grounded in integrity, when everything they do is connected to the intention to be present for their people, employee engagement soars. And so we really see ourselves as the 21st solution for employee engagement.
I recently heard something on TikTok by John Maxwell. He basically said that in order for you to be a transformational leader, you just can't accept your path. You have to be intentional about it. And that's one of your five, right? I5 is intention, because the way he talked about it was like, if you're just accepting everything that's happening, you're just like taking it as like, there really is no path. There's no alignment, right?
That is correct. And regarding intention, which, yes, you're right, it's one of our five. I'm actually keynoting a large women's leadership conference for the Women's Center, which is a nonprofit organization in the DC region. We're expecting about 700 women to show up. I think it's on March 25th.
Wow.
And I am
in person?
I'm opening the keynote, and I'm just looking. So I'm the opening keynote for this conference, and the theme is intentionality. And what I came up with, again, me being this model leader, I came up with 5 pillars of intention. And that's what I'll be opening the keynote. My opening keynote will be focusing on that. Presence, to really be fully present in your life, in your relationships, in your own vision, in your, in the relationship that you have within yourself. Perspective. Our perspective creates our reality. So how intentional are you with your perspective? Are you seeing the world through rose-colored lenses, or even through dirty lenses, through stories and self-limiting beliefs and past experiences that maybe are limiting your perspective? Possibility. How intentional are you with your possibility, right? Like our possibility is limited only by our imagination. So how intentional are you being about an expanded possibility? Priority. What you're focusing on, is it your priority? And priority is usually connected to your core values. When we lose sight of our core values, or we become disconnected from our core values, then our priorities become very muddy. So how aligned are you to your core values, and how aligned to you are to your priorities? And then the 5th pillar of intention that I came up with is self-perception and self-love, because how we see ourselves, the perception of ourselves, it drives every decision in our life. It tells us what we think we deserve from relationships. It tells us what we think we are capable of, right? It tells us how big we think our vision can be. Everything gets down to how we feel about ourselves. So self-perception is the 5th pillar. So that was presence, perspective, possibility, priority, and self-perception. And I'll be speaking about those 5 pillars of leading and living an intentional life for the Women's Center in Northern Virginia on, I believe, March 25th.
Ah, that is so wonderful. And I love these alliterations. As a person who's like a brand strategist, like it's so much easier to remember when they have the same letter.
Right. Yeah. And it just came to me, like, what is intention? And they just came to me. So I'm really excited to be able to give that message to 700 women leaders that will be there that Saturday.
And you're also working on a new book. Leadership book, Awakening the Conscious Leader Within, a Roadmap to Conscious Leadership for the 21st Century. So tell us a little bit about that.
We've tweaked the title a little bit.
Okay. What is it?
Because that's the journey of entrepreneurship, right? We're always in motion. We're always in evolution.
We can always change our mind.
We're always pivoting. So the new title, and I have to take a look at my whiteboard. Okay. Awakening the Conscious Leader, the 21st Century Solution for Employee Engagement and Business Growth.
Nice.
Awakening the Conscious Leader, the 21st Century Solution for Employee Engagement and Business Growth. And that will be coming out later this year as part of our I5 Conscious Leadership Company.
And you're probably going to have 5 things that start with the letter C. Commitment, consciousness,
No, I think it'll be around the model.
Wonderful. That is. besides this book, I mean, you've also, I mean, you're a prolific writer, right? You worked or you contributed to Inc. magazine for many,
Yeah, I
many
was an Inc.
years.
magazine columnist, a leadership
Yeah.
and corporate culture columnist for many years. That was a wonderful experience. Yeah.
Wow. I
And
mean,
that, that was an exercise in persistence. I had pitched myself to be a writer for Inc. 3 times. 3 times. I was rejected the first 2. And then the third time, I was able to spend a lot of time with the editors of Inc. magazine because I was featured in a Microsoft advertisement on work-life balance, actually, and women in the workforce. And so I was at this event, and Inc. magazine was actually running the ad for Microsoft. So I was actually in the room, I spent like literally all night with editors from Inc. magazine, and I begged them. I was like, please just give me a chance. I won't let you down. I literally was begging them, and they finally said yes.
and it lasted for years.
It did last
right?
for years. Yeah.
4 years.
It did. It lasted for a long time. And I ended up being one of their top leadership columnists. So my intention is to return as their conscious leadership columnist. So,
and you probably put in your 10,000 hours just in those 4 years alone.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, you have so many awards. Like, tell us a little bit more about your awards. Like, weren't you like Smart CEO?
Yeah.
Like for many years?
I was. Jamie Nespor she's the one who she was the publisher of Smart CEO magazine. And I got to know her very, very well. What a phenomenal woman. I was running the company. I was very immersed in the business community. My first company, we had an awards strategy, again, living with intention. So under my leadership, we won more than 80 awards. They weren't all my awards by any stretch of the imagination. They reflected our creativity, the work that we did in learning and education, graphic design, multimedia work. So a lot of those awards were definitely the reflection of my amazing creative staff. But again, getting back to intention, that was something, when I look back at how I led that company, it was just so much wrapped around intention. We had the intentional award strategy. We had something called a good times committee, where we had fun that was literally a line item in our budget to make sure that the culture, was really, really engaging. There was just a lot of intention behind my leadership. But yeah, the award strategy was part of that.
That is so wonderful. You had mentioned earlier that you're an empath. A lot of people don't know what that means. Share what an empath is like.
It is a double-edged sword, is what it is. And I think finally, I'm 55. I think finally at this point in my life, I've maybe mastered it and got it under control, where it's not controlling me, and I'm kind of able to control that. But when you're a full empath, I mean, you feel everybody's emotions and energy, and it's a lot, it's a lot to take in. I'm definitely, I think, an ambivert, like meaning extrovert, introvert. I totally get so much energy by being with other people. I don't really love to be alone. But then when I'm immersed in everybody for a while, I can actually physically feel my energy changing and starting to like get depleted because it's been too much. And then I need to go into solitary, time or meditation or something to do something to ground me. But an empath truly absorbs everybody's feelings and energy. Even, I'm in training, continuous training with the Enneagram, and that tool, that psychometric tool, really gets to the heart and of both the light and the dark of 9 different personality types. And when I am in my training with my co-students, the other participants, and we're sharing so much vulnerability. I mean, I have a lump in my throat, literally the whole entire class, as I'm listening to people's struggles. I just, but at the same time, being an empath, I think one of my other superpowers and one of the things that I love doing is creating safe spaces for people and holding space for people and being in their darkest moments with them so that they know that they're not alone, and creating a path forward and a way out to help illuminate the path with light to move them out. I mean, I think that is just such sacred work. And I really love doing that for people.
What's your Enneagram type?
I'm a 2. I'm a helper, giver. Oh, completely. Oh yeah. Off the chart.
I'm a type 3 achiever.
Okay. Oh, you're an achiever. So I'm, the wings for me are, the 1, the perfectionist, or 3, the achiever, right? I vacillate. I mean, I feel connected to that perfectionist tendency where I just don't want to disappoint anybody. But then the achiever, I also get great satisfaction out of achieving goals. So my wing really, I think, can go either way, but I am a firm 2, the helper and the giver.
How can people find out what their Enneagram type? Do they just contact you?
They can contact me.
Okay.
I can certainly test them. And then I can also do the analysis for them. So I love to do that. So they can email me at marissainternational.com or find me on LinkedIn. But I'd love to. We do work with the Enneagram. As you mentioned, I'm certified in the EQI, which is the emotional intelligence assessment, which is also a phenomenal tool. So we love to work that into our work. So yeah, I love working with both of those tools.
Awesome. So what are you looking forward to in 2023?
So we are officially launching I5 Conscious Leadership into the marketplace. We're taking it into government, nonprofit, and private sector. And that business, we've got multiple streams of revenue that we are anticipating. We're aligning ourselves with certain government contractors. We're not interested in being a government contractor, but we definitely want to partner. We're going into nonprofits and associations, and we've got private sector companies that are, waiting for us to work with them to be able to create conscious leadership teams and communities within their organizations. We're also offering certification to other coaches so that they can become I5 certified, and they can then bring our model to their clients. So, we've got a lot that we're rolling out around I5 Conscious Leadership. And then, of course, the book will be coming out as well. So lots of things to look forward to. Also want to be traveling more this year. So hopefully, seeing my EO friends around the world, and just all good things.
What type of advice would you give to an entrepreneur that's listening? Like, I know there's lots of advice to be had, but what's one thing from your journey as a 30-year entrepreneur? What sticks out the most?
Humility, like to be in the place of humility. And for me, I always think I'm at base camp. I feel like I'm always starting. One of my most important lessons I received was from a yoga teacher almost 30 years ago, when she said that every stretch is in preparation to stretch further. And I believe that that's how our journey is, that everything that we have accomplished and achieved and experienced, the whole purpose of all of that is literally to prepare us for what is coming next. And so if we can be in that place of humility, knowing that we have so much more growth to enjoy and to experience, and that we can connect with and surround ourselves with others who can help us reach our potential, that's the way we grow. And then ultimately, that's the best way in which we can serve others. I live by the mantra that when you become part of the universe becomes part of you. And so the more that we put ourselves out there, the more that we're going to get back. Just always be open to that place for help, and know that any challenge that you have, someone has already figured out the solution to that challenge. Everything is figure outable. No challenge is unique. And that should give us comfort as we move through our journey to know that everything can be resolved.
I love that about humility. I think it's so true, because a lot of times when we are CEOs, right, running multiple companies or having all these awards, we sometimes believe the press, right?
Right.
It hurts us. And I also love Dalai Lama's quote, when you talk, you're only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new.
That is so true. That is so
Right?
true.
There's always something new to learn.
Always hit base camp, beginner's
Yeah,
mind all the
right.
time, beginner's mind all the time.
What's your daily routine like when it comes to your meditation and your
Ah,
health? You look so
sure.
great.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. I am definitely very disciplined. I go to sleep pretty early. I do not disturb on my phone. Goes on, I think around 8:45 or 9.
Nice.
I don't watch any TV at all. Pretty much the only thing I do watch is the Gaia Network for consciousness and
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
spirituality. That's pretty
Yeah.
much the only thing that I watch. But I do have a very dedicated meditation practice. I've had that for decades. I meditate both in the morning and at night. I meditate in the evening to dissolve the day. It really, really helps me to kind of disconnect and get regrounded and remember that, we're all basically souls on our soul's journey, right? At the end of the day, that's why everything is happening in our life is literally to expand our soul. And we can't really take anything too seriously. So I meditate in the morning, I meditate in the evening. I also go to the gym 6 days a week. I've been training since I was 15. So I literally have been doing weight training and strength training in the gym for 40 years, which is crazy.
Right.
But yeah,
Because weightlifting was not a thing.
I know, but I fell in love with Linda Hamilton in The Terminator when I was 15 years old in 10th grade. She just was so beautiful inside and out. And I was like, I want to be that. And that's literally what got me into training. I went the next day after I watched that movie to Bally's Sport and Health, and I signed up and I started my 40-year lifelong love affair with weight training and being in the gym. So I am still training every day. I don't really drink alcohol. It's very, very rare. I'm a pescatarian. I don't eat any meat. My sleep, as I mentioned, is really disciplined. I journal, and I'm really, really committed to living with an open heart. Ram Dass is my most important and favorite teacher. Very committed to just his principles and just making sure that I go through life with an open heart. And I do a lot of work around that. So that's kind of what my secret sauce is for my life.
Do you do TM? Is that what type of meditation you do? Or
No, it's interesting you say that. I've been thinking about kind of diving into that. I do kind of a mixture of different meditations. I mean, I love Sadhguru, and he's got an Isha Kriya. Yeah, he's got an Isha Kriya meditation practice, which I have been doing for a couple of years now, and I really enjoy that. Ram Dass has got some beautiful meditations. I do chanting, so I do a mixture of chanting, silent meditation, guided meditation. I love Sharon Salzberg, and she's got metta. Her metta meditations. I love Pema Chodron, and she's got Tonglen. So I integrate that into my practices. So whatever I'm feeling drawn to, I mean, it definitely is around the themes of loving kindness and compassion and just open-heartedness. That's really what I kind of focus on.
so for your chants, are you doing like Mani Padme Hum or like, yeah?
Yeah, I do a lot of chanting through
Yeah.
Deepak Chopra's app, the Chopra app. They've got a lot of different chants with seed syllables, and I do a lot of work with the seed syllables.
That just takes you to a different realm, doesn't it? And it's great that it's also a practice. You're absolutely right about dissolving the day because so many things stick to you, right? And just cleaning your energy.
They do stick to you. And when I was going through, and I know a lot of people listening, a lot of EO members can relate to this. When I was going through the sale of my business last year, even though our transaction was so clean, I mean, I found my buyer. Like we were soul aligned. Like the relationship was just completely rooted in love and trust. The transactions were clean. We had no debt. It was a very, very simple transaction comparatively to some others, with larger companies and more complex, financials. But the process still took almost a year. And and I've actually been interviewed on a podcast about this. That that transaction was probably one of the most spiritually evolutionary processes of my life, because I felt like in every moment I had to be in both past, present, and future. I had to be focused on the past with, take a look at my company. This is all the good things. These are our products and services. This is how we've performed. Here are our contracts. Here are our customers. Here's how we've been successful. I had to really be in the past. And then I also had to be in the future, because I was talking about what the new company would be able to do when they bought us and what that would look like and how I'll be involved in that company. And then I also had to be completely rooted in the present, reminding myself every day that this is what I'm dealing with, that is literally right in front of me in the now. And that whatever happens with this transaction, whatever the end result is, my seat of consciousness doesn't change. Right? Like I am still the same person detached from that outcome. And so that whole process of selling my company was such an incredible lesson for me. And, one of the most important Buddhist principles is impermanence and non-attachment. And so moving through this process, knowing that even though it just feels so thick, it was still impermanent. And I had to remain detached from the outcome, even though I was so invested. So it was such a spiritually evolutionary and process. I grew a lot from it. And it, really, to make sure that I slept at night, I really had to be very mindful about shutting down the day, dissolving the day, going deep into meditation to create that reconnection to my consciousness after every day that we were going through that. So it was a lot.
Yeah, because I talk to a lot of my friends, they go through this path and sometimes it doesn't even work out.
Sometimes
right?
It doesn't. Well, it doesn't work out the way they say, right?
True.
Like that's the whole thing about trusting the process and trusting the journey. One of my most important mentors said to me, sometimes the best deal is the one that doesn't get done.
Right.
And so he kept reminding me of that, to just stay grounded, like to trust the process, to trust the universe. And you don't want to put it out there like, well, if it doesn't happen, I'm going to have a plan B, because we know that what we think about, we manifest, right? So you don't want to put too much energy into the plan B, but at the same time, you have to trust that things will unfold exactly as they're meant to.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's great about you is like after that transaction, you didn't go into a clinical depression like a lot of my other friends did.
No,
they did. Like they're trying to sell their companies. It takes them 3 years. And after it's done, they have their $200 million in the bank and they are depressed. That didn't happen to you.
Well, so that didn't happen because I didn't end up with $200 million in the bank. This might be a different discussion if I did. But, for me, going through this transaction, I'm in constant evolution, right? And so I felt that my partner and I had reached the highest potential that we could have reached as partners running this company. And so that's how I knew that it was time to evolve and move on to something else. I am very dialed into my inner voice and my spirit. Her name is Joy. I've actually named my spirit, and I'm dialed into her and I listen to her. And long before this transaction happened, I could feel a stirring in my spirit that it was time to, start evolving onto something else. And I could just feel it. And so I followed that.
My middle name is Joy. No, true, really, like really.
I love that. I love that.
Yes, follow your joy. It's so beautiful, so wonderful. So how can people contact you? I know that you gave your email address earlier.
Sure.
But if they want to learn more about your I5 Conscious Leadership.
So I5 Conscious Leadership is a live website now. So we have formally launched, so they can get to me through Marissa International or I5 Conscious Leadership. My email for Marissa International is marissa@marissainternational.com. And then it's marissa.levin@i5consciousleadership.com. And they can always get to me on LinkedIn as well. So I'm there. And we have a newsletter on conscious leadership in life. So definitely connect with me on LinkedIn and reach out if there's anything that I can do to support you with leadership, culture, entrepreneurship. I do a lot of speaking, not only at conferences, but also coming into companies and doing retreats, speaking on intentionality, consciousness, teamwork, self-awareness, all the things related to being a conscious leader.
Thank you so much for making such a wonderful impact on the world. We need more entrepreneurs like you, and I'd love to get you back to talk about that topic, the five intentionalities.
The 5 pillars of intentionality. Yeah. Sure. I would love to come back for that and to, talk deeper about what it is to be a conscious leader. And I mean, I would be honored to come back, Kalika. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. So maybe after your presentation, after you've launched it out in the world, then we'll bring you back on, because I think that's something people really need. They need to be more intentional. And everyone always says about, right? Just like, oh, you should be more grateful. You should be more intentional. But no, this is a path. You have a model on how to do it.
No doubt. No doubt. I would love to.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, and hope you have an awesome day.
Oh, and thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing in the world. I mean, this is huge that you've created a platform for other entrepreneurs to be able to share their lessons and their wisdom and, to help those coming up behind us. I mean, it's so important what you're doing. So I hope you honor yourself for that as well.
Thank you, Marissa. You're the best.
Thank you.